What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell. Today on the Hardcat, we're going to be giving you our top 5 transfer quarterbacks. Welcome into CFB with JD, the People's Channel. Every single thing you know and that you love about college football, it happens here. It happens nearly every single day. We do a video. You should subscribe, okay? Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie, do the real heavy lifting. You can follow me at my Twitter page, JD Pickell, to help drive the show even more. My DMs are like 7-Eleven. They stay open. You got that? Okay, great. We put a question out on Twitter to bring it back to my Twitter page, at JD Pickell. Put a question out and said, who are your top transfer quarterbacks going into the 2022 season? And we got a lot of good responses, some of which we're going to break down here. But I got another tweet from a friend of mine that said, wouldn't it just be easier to say the top quarterbacks that aren't transfers? It's a very valid point. I think it's interesting in the day and age of college football, especially at the quarterback position, only one of them is on the field at a time. Only one. So if you're the guy out of high school, everyone tells you, hey, you are the dude, you are a 5-star, you're the next best thing, and you're not playing when you get on campus, you're probably transferring. That's not the case for all these guys. A lot of different stories. Again, we're going to give you our top 5, but we're entering into a day and age of college football where if you don't land that 5-star signal caller on signing day, I mean, stay tuned because he likely will be looking for greener pastures. There was some crazy stat, I'm going to butcher it. I think it was somewhere around 50%, maybe more, of 5 stars, 4 and 5 stars were in the transfer portal at some point in time during their college career since the transfer portal has existed. I don't know how true that is, but it sounds real. So before we jump into this list, let's just start with the criteria that I built the list with. Could go a lot of different directions with, okay, who's going to have the most accolades, who's going to go the highest in the draft, who's the most pro-ready. I'm just going to boil it down to 2 things. The impact they have on their team in terms of previous wins and losses with this quarterback, and then we'll just go off the perception of solid stats. Now, this is going to change from one quarterback to the next because of system, and obviously a guy who is in an air raid offense is going to have less touchdowns than a guy who runs a pro style. Just the perception of that will be determined at the end of the season. Context is everything, right? So, honorable mention, JT Daniels has not committed to a school yet. There are rumors it's down to West Virginia, Missouri, and Oregon State. Sounds like Oregon State is the leader in that clubhouse. I don't have him on this top 5 because of what I just mentioned. We don't know where he's going to go, and I think how they do with that team and how that team does is a really big variable. But JT Daniels, wherever he ends up, he is going to make a bunch of noise. I mean, nationally, you're going to hear about JT Daniels once again, the former USC transfer to Georgia, lost his job after injury, all this, that, and the other. He is going to jump back on the scene in a very big way. Would be excited for him to end up at any of those schools. So, without further ado, number 5, Jaden Daniels, transfer from Arizona State to LSU, put on a show his freshman year, kind of fizzled out as the rest of the year wore on, or rest of his career wore on, I should say. There's 2 trains of thought, and Josh Pate, I think, put this very well from 24/7 Sports. There's 2 trains of thoughts with Jaden Daniels. One, tons of talent, just never got to open it up at Arizona State. The other thought is, had a good freshman year, just not really that good. We kind of saw what we needed to see from him. He doesn't really have the chops. I subscribe more so to the first train of thought. I think Jaden Daniels is an elite talent. He was recruited by all the big boys coming out of high school before choosing Arizona State. Like the SEC schools wanted him as a senior in high school, and he chose to go somewhere he could play early. No knock on him. The culture and the setup at Arizona State during the end of his time there was ridiculous. Like, I don't know how anybody could even think of having a successful 2022 season with all the dysfunction they had on their staff and the allegations with the NCAA. So I expect him to jump into a program that has a lot of pieces built out around them. I trust Brian Kelly with my life. They're going to do a lot of great things in the transfer portal after spring, even more so than they've done pre-spring. Jaden Daniels, if he wins the job, will be in position to succeed. And I think with all of his physical ability, they're going to be in a really good place to allow him to show off what he never got to fully show off Arizona State. So if he can take that next step as a quarterback, and if LSU can be in a competitive position with what they have around him, Jaden Daniels will be a name to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the job and ends up doing some really great things for LSU back in New Year's Six kind of contention. Number 4, this is going to be a fan favorite. This is a reply we got a lot on Twitter. Quinn Ewers from Ohio State to Texas. Everybody knows his story. We've tracked it really closely here on this channel. Dude says, peace out to senior year of high school. I need kombucha money. Goes to Ohio State. Ends up not being as good a fit as we thought. Turns out college football is really hard, especially when you're supposed to be a senior in high school and going to prom. He says, okay, I got to go back home closer to where mom's home cooking is. Goes to the University of Texas at Austin. All the reports early on are that he's thriving. The report was, okay, at Ohio State, he was a little standoffish. He wasn't quite as personable. He was still getting his feet wet. And who can blame the kid? Again, he was supposed to be enjoying his senior year of high school. Nobody's ready for their freshman year of college when they're just getting out of high school. Anyway, Ohio was weird for him. Sounds like. Goes to Texas. My biggest question for him is, can he handle the pressure? Because there was a year delayed where he got into a college system, obviously. And I mean, even when he came into games to hand off to the running back in garbage time, the crowd would erupt. Like, he's a national brand at this point. And he's asked for that and brought that upon himself because of the schools that he's gone to, choices he's made in the NIL arena. But the pressure in Austin will be enormous. He is going to Texas to start. There'll be a quarterback competition to a degree. Hudson Card got into McCombs, so he's going to stay there for I don't know how long. But Quinn Ewers is your guy. If it's not game one, it'll be very early on. So can he handle that pressure that comes with being the quarterback at Texas, first off, and second, with being who he has acclaimed himself to be and who other people have acclaimed him to be. So a lot to be determined there. There is no denying the kid has talent coming out of his ears and mullet. He has the potential to be a superstar. I hope he is a superstar for the health of college football and for just the well-being of Quinn Ewers. I root for the guy. A lot of things that will be put on his shoulders. At number 3, I got Jackson Dart transferring from USC to Ole Miss. There was a lot of speculation as to where he was going to go, but Jackson Dart, the most exciting thing about him for fans is the unknown. We saw him come again against Washington State and just absolutely lit it up. The kid was a phenom, put up video game-like numbers, and then got hurt, and we never really heard quite as much from him again. I know he played still, but we didn't see the same kind of spark from him again. I don't know that USC was really in a position at that point in time to allow him to flourish. So pair him with Lane Kiffin's offense. You take what Ole Miss was a season ago, if they can kind of build on that and be able to be in that third spot and push past that in the SEC, Jackson Dart's going to be a household name nationally, even more so than he already is. If they can push past an Alabama for that number 2 spot, now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Everybody calm down in the comment section. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but for them to be in the 3 spot and to have a chance to challenge the big dog, no pun intended, in Georgia, and then number 2 Alabama, Jackson Dart's going to be in New York City for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. If they can allow this team to do that, that's where he's going to be. So we'll see what happens. But again, the upside for him is so high, especially in this offense. I think it's a great match. I think it's going to be a Darty, if you will, in Oxford. Number 2, I got Dillon Gabriel, the UCF transfer, said I'm going to UCLA. Psych, my guy's going to Oklahoma. I'm going with Jeff Lebby. What's up, Norman? We did a chalk talk on him as well. I love his game. I absolutely love his game. I love his experience. I think he is primed for a very big year. The fact that he has his offensive coordinator on a bigger stage is going to suit him very well. Guy's a cool customer, does a lot with his feet that I love, has a very talented arm. There's so much like about Dillon Gabriel, and this quarterback system that Jeff Lebby runs is extremely quarterback friendly. So I'm fired up for him. I think he's primed for a huge year. If they can find their identity early on enough in the season, they're going to compete for a Big 12 title. Now, you probably already feel good about that based on your roster in Norman about competing for a Big 12 title, but I'm just saying, similar to Jackson Dart, there is so much upside with Dillon Gabriel based on who is calling the plays for that football team. So I'm excited about Dillon Gabriel. I think he's a great fit at number 2. And number 1, you knew this was coming. The most talented, the most exciting, and probably the most talked about at this point player in college football going into next season, quarterback for the University of Southern California Trojans, Caleb Williams, transferring from Norman. Had a lot of buzz coming into last year, was pushing Spencer Rattler from a lot of reports to be the starting quarterback out of camp. Now, Spencer Rattler was Spencer Rattler, so he wasn't going to get beat out at camp, but we saw Lincoln Riley wasn't hesitating too much to throw him the keys when things went to the dogs against Texas, I should say, for Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. The guy burst onto the scene, showed poise beyond his years, and has physical ability that is just freakish. If he takes that next step as a quarterback at the college game, no one's touching USC. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but I'm saying if he does, if he comes into his own, if he reaches his potential, dude, USC is going to be a playoff team. I don't know what to tell you. So with that list, number 5, Jaden Daniels to LSU, Quinn Ewers, number 4 at Texas, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, Dillon Gabriel, Oklahoma, and number 1, Caleb Williams. I'm serious, y'all. I'm not backing down from that. Caleb Williams has the potential to be a landscape-changing kind of player. Laugh if you want to. That's it for us here at CFB with JD. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at JD Pakel. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time.